Hello. Yeah. I didn't really have an intro video or audio clip for this one, but we're coming at you live here at CEO Network, CEO Radio. We're trying different things. We're exploring different avenues. We're going live on Facebook with different components, different shows. So today is Tuesday, right? I'm with my very special guest, Miss Mary VanAlstyne. Hello. Say hello, Miss Mary.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah, look at that. Everybody's just screaming and hollering. Yeah, there she is. Miss Mary VanAlstyne. So we're coming at you live here on a Tuesday just to kind of explore things. Today's topic is sex versus love. We were talking a little bit today about, what show ideas we can bring. We're really discussing health and spirituality. I think it's about a more emotional health. Wouldn't you say, Miss VanAlstyne?
Yes,
VanAlstyne?
Inner health.
Inner health. So we wanted to bring different show ideas and kind of collaborate a little bit on how we can work together.
Yes, yeah, it's very exciting. Thank you.
So one of the show topics that I brought up, because I thought it would be more clickbait. So just if you're watching right now because of the show topic, if you're watching us, hopefully I clickbaited you pretty good. We're here to talk for the next 20 or 30 minutes or so. We're going to be taking questions here live. So if you have any questions or comments, or you just want to insert whatever kind of theory or anything that's on your mind, if it resonates with you, hit the little like button. If you love what you're seeing, get the little heart emojis. Give us a little love, Miss Mary.
Yay.
That's right. So if you love what you're seeing, get that. If you're on YouTube right now, hit the subscribe button because you enjoy watching these shows and you enjoy exploring this journey with us at RCO Network.
Yeah, hopefully we bring a little something different out to the scene, right?
Exactly. So what I wanted to talk about was bring up the idea about relationships and about love and really what that means. And really have a difference between what sex and love is. The spirituality part about what this life is all about is way different than the physical manifestation. And I know this might be kind of obscure ideas, but it's this stuff that's the shit that's in my head.
It's definitely in mine too.
I don't think we're alone.
I really don't think we're alone. I think that people are maybe just afraid to speak about the topics of spirituality and sex and love and relationships. So
yeah, didn't you grow up Catholic? Didn't you?
No, actually, no. I did not grow up with much religion, although I really was looking for something, so I would always bug my parents. My father was raised very Catholic, hence why we were not.
I grew up in a very, very stern Catholic kind of environment. I was even an altar boy for about 8 years, too, in my hometown, and sex wasn't something you talked about at all.
No.
And then all of a sudden, when you're an adult and you're about to get married, you have to talk about sex. You have to go to church and understand how sex works. And I've taken like Catholic classes regarding like how sex functions in a marital relationship, and it's very clinical. Yeah. and the spiritual sense, or I guess perspective that I got or received was that sex is bad up until you get married. And then sex can be good, or maybe not, when you're married, and it has to be somewhat, predictable. You have the Catholic classes that I took were regarding like the woman has to somewhat concede to the man in certain things, and some obscure ideas that don't necessarily fit our culture today. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's been some of your experiences too.
Yeah, actually, it was a very I was growing up. I was raised with a lot of there's shame around sex, right? You don't talk about it, you don't do it, and there was this pressure just to stay away from it. And then I ended up being a teenage mom, so I went and I rebelled against that idea, and it can be a very confusing thing, I think, for people to take a look at what it can mean, what they truly desire, and then what they're taught sex is supposed to be. Which most of the time is a very mechanical thing, like you had said.
Yeah, and it's so obscure when you're taught at a young age to avoid it, to not do it, stay abstinent, And I think in middle school they taught us how to use condoms and that kind of thing, and it's really weird to learn about sex when you're like 12 with a bunch of other boys, and it's all stupid and giggly, and you're interested in the topic because it's important, and every part of you is like protruding out, like wanting to have it. But then when you actually learn about it, it's very shameful on one side when you have your parents, and then it's very educational, very clinical when you get to school. It's like, well, who do you really talk to? What source can you talk to without feeling kind of shamed and and kind of awkward about it, you know. And I think that's very true for a lot of people out there who want to have that discussion with people. It's either they go to porn, and or they. Well, I think it's mostly porn.
Yeah,
I think that's really the one thing that people go to when it comes to that. Sorry.
Well, it almost kind of reminds me of when you're you know, putting restrictions, such heavy restrictions and shame around anything, such as eating, dieting, sex, whatever it is. It tends to turn it into something a little more distorted, and hence why people get into porn addictions and things that they feel that they need to hide and they want to explore, and it just comes out in a very perverted way when we shame ourselves that way. You know, just same thing around food. Then you get the eating disorders and the closet eaters and the bulimia and things like that. So it all kind of ties into, can we get to that place of releasing that shame, inner shame around it?
Yeah, and there's so many good aspects of it. I mean, it feels good. I mean, it feels, you know, wonderful to be part of, you know, and I think there's sometimes restrictive aspects of it because you shouldn't be doing it. I mean, you can only do it under certain circumstances, you know, and it's a natural biological inclination, but then there's another spiritual side of that too.
Absolutely.
You know, there's a completely different connection when you're in love with somebody and you have sex versus when you meet somebody randomly and have sex. You know, and again, what source? Where do you go for this information? It's definitely not the Bible.
Well, it's probably definitely not the media either, because that's how they portray what sex should be and how it should look and things like that, which also lead to body image issues and you know, things like that, because you think that it has to do only with how you look and how you show up and like sex appeal, you know, versus a real human connection with someone.
And think about our culture too. If you think about our culture, we're in the United States very shameful about our bodies and our identity, where in European countries they're not. I mean, if you go to, I went to Spain one time and they're topless and it's fine. I mean, some of them are like, well, can you put those away? But then there's a lot of guys like that too, you know. And where we get this sense of culture from, where we get this sense of shame from, I don't know if that's the neo-Christian kind of base, but how that relates all back to love is very, it's a dichotomy, right? Sex and love are two different things. Can they be both the same thing? I think under certain circumstances, but I'm you know, thinking about and reflecting about what love is, or what love is to me. You know, it goes back to when you're a child. You know, when you're so young and you're an infant and you receive that nurturance, that sense of like comfort, sense of security. That's all love, right? And you receive that from a parent. And there's nothing sexual about that. You know, there's that separation there. But you know, for some reason, our culture teaches that love is connected to sex. And if we don't have enough of it, if we don't do it enough, then it's like, you know, well, you're supposed to do it 4 times a week or 4 times a day or 4 times a month, whatever the number is. You know, we kind of put that on somebody else. So we're projecting this frustration and anger, which really doesn't come from the other person. It comes from what we've been learned and taught, our own experiences. Don't you think?
I do think so. And I think that the more that we are able to let these masks down and these walls of shame down and actually talk about it, we could enhance that experience. Absolutely. And I do think that, you know, it is very different, love versus this infatuation stage that people go through in the beginning of a relationship that is very lusty. It's part of our primal instincts, right, to procreate.
It's kind of fun, too.
Yeah.
I will go on a limb and say it's pretty fun.
Yeah, it can be fun. Yeah, for sure.
Several times. Oh, she's getting bashful now. She's so embarrassed about coming on here. Now you feel a little bit more relaxed. Is that?
I do. I do. I feel definitely more relaxed now.
But you know, again, when you're moving forward in a relationship, it's all just fun and games, you know, and it's like it's enjoyable, and it's hard to distinguish the physicality from the spirituality part of that. And we were also talking just before the show. It's like, well, you know, at what point do you feel love, or what point is it marked as love? Is that the 5th date? Is that the 12th phone call? And I think ultimately it comes down to trust, right? You know, and there's really no marker for that. And when you trust that person, I think love and sex kind of combine in a separate and unique way. And it's really hard to quantify, you know, and we're talking about spirituality. And so we're kind of reflecting a lot about that, but you know, your perspective on what sex and maybe your best experiences regarding love. I mean, have you ever Have you ever felt in love, Miss Mary?
Have I ever felt in love? Yes, I have felt in love several times.
Yeah.
And what I used to think was that love was this ooey gooey feeling that you get inside and the butterflies. And, later on as we get older, we learn that that's more that honeymoon infatuation stage. And love really begins when all of that kind of settles down and you get to really know the other person. And then it becomes more of an action, a choosing in to love someone, a choosing in to do an action, a choosing in to care for someone versus just, I like you until you do this, or I like you because you're cute for now and everything you do is cute for now until I really get past that infatuation stage. And then it becomes very conditional unless we continue to show up and choose to love as a verb versus just a feeling.
Cardinal pleasure.
Yeah.
Even though that's fun too.
Yeah.
So I'm here with Mary VanAlstyne. VanAlstyne. I've been practicing very distinctly. Here with Miss Mary VanAlstyne, and we're talking about sex and love and the dichotomy which exists between that. So if you have any comments or questions, go and leave them in. This is a new show, so we're kind of trying to create it, mold it, and mend it into something that you guys enjoy listening to. We're here more about mindfulness. We're here to talk about spirituality, more philosophical things. So the obscure things in life that kind of catch us up, and sometimes we just need answers for, or at least know that we're not alone. Because some shit's scary out there.
Yeah.
And when you have these thoughts in your mind, and when you explore these things, it's like, who do you talk to? Who do you feel comfortable enough to talk to? You can't talk to your mom, because she's gonna tell you, "Ay, mijo, no, don't listen to it. It's no good. The Bible tells you, dice que you have to listen to God." Or whatever,
Well, you can talk to us then.
But if you go ahead and leave those comments and questions, like I said, we'll answer them as we go along. We're molding it and trying to make it into something that we do on a regular basis. And what we want to do again is share our mindfulness and kind of our inspiration and the things that come across our heads. So that I think there's a lot of people out there that feel alone and isolated when they explore and talk about their feelings. We want to make this a platform for you guys to kind of explore and talk about your feelings too. You're not alone.
Awesome.
So, Miss Mary VanAlstyne.
Yes.
The big question I have for the day.
Uh-oh.
Can you follow?
How big is it?
Well, Miss Mary, hello. Let's explore the question of how big is it? Well, there's only one way to find out. It's not going to happen today. But the big question I had today was more, can we love more than one person? Can we completely fall in love with more than one person?
That is a very big question.
That is a big question.
I think that it just depends on how open are you? Like, what are your views on what love should be? I know more and more people are getting into different things like open relationships and things like that. It's just how comfortable are you with that? I think that it's possible to have love for multiple people. Absolutely.
See, I've been married once, and when I met my first wife, there's only been one.
She was your first.
She was the first one. So, I was totally captured away. I was freaking 20 years old, and it seemed like it was she was my boss, by the way. So that might have had something to do with it, but I whatever. But I just totally captivated. She had a 3-year-old daughter. I think, reflecting back, I was more in love with her daughter more than I was with her. And I think even deeper, I think I was more in love with the idea of family and creating my own and doing my thing because, my own self-exploration, I felt very hurt as a child, and I was trying to fix or remedy things through this other person, this 3-year-old. And it was a projection of all my fears and issues as I was a kid, projecting it to another child. Seeking love in a 3-year-old. And again, it's in a non-sexual way, just complete and utter, like kind of that unconditional love is what I was looking for. And you seek that out in people a lot. And the journey that from 20 to now 42, I think I'm 42. I'll be 42 this year.
Ooh, we're the same age.
Yes, hello.
Yes, hello.
So from that journey from 20 to 42, it's just like, well, it's changed a lot. That perspective, that idea, that sense of projection and love with the spouse to a child is now more focused on myself and addressing my own insecurities, addressing, who I am as a person and exploring and putting myself next to fear, as we talked about fear today, putting myself as close to fear as possible, because that brings me to a point where it's instinctual. I'm just reacting of what my instincts are. And as I observe my instincts, as I observe my reaction to things, I can make better decisions and say, you know what, that's really who I am. My instinct, my innate actions to things, my reactions to things, that's who I am. And sometimes they're not good reactions, you know, and in my observation of people, in my aspects of love. So coming back to love, that true journey in finding love is really finding it within yourself first.
Absolutely. I was going to say to that, that, you know, between my 20s and now, which was a little bit of time, I've realized and observed that so many people are looking outward for someone else to fill some empty void within themselves. And so they'll look for a partner to make them feel good about themselves, or to give themselves confidence, or to make them feel sexy or wanted or desired. And then with that, they get into these relationships that are very codependent. Yeah. And they call that love. And I think what I've learned over the last 20 years is the journey is about going in and loving yourself, learning how to love yourself so that you can be a whole person. And then you find another whole person, and then you just complement each other in an interdependent relationship, versus filling a void, you know, and trying to get you to be something so that I can be something, right? Yeah, that's been my observation about love over the last 20-something years.
And see, I think the controversial aspect, the thing I brought up today, was the whole, again, dichotomy between sex and love, where I think you have sex with people you don't necessarily respect. Or at least you want it more from somebody you don't respect. Where if you respect them enough, it becomes more than that. Especially if they're not inclined to that, or if they're different. Talking about the Tao and the balance of life and having opposing forces, you're going to have one that wants more than the other, and you have these shifting forces all the time. You know, this constant chase. You need that. There is a difference between the needy love versus the wanted love. The wanted love is like, everything's fine. There's no problems. Everybody's muscularly cut. Everybody has a certain height, and you never gain weight or any of that. I mean, that's like the wanted love. But the needed love is finding somebody that really kind of matches where you're at spiritually, emotionally, not necessarily physically, but kind of that road there. And that's my perspective. And the more I've explored this, the more I've understood that love is a deeper meaning, a deeper feeling than really what sex is. Sex is the manifestation of what that is, and it could complement it, but it shouldn't be the it. If that makes
exactly. Sense. Yeah, I've actually talked to different men who have mentioned to me, friends, that they, in a relationship with a woman, and the minute they started having feelings for her, they no longer wanted to have sex with her. And that seemed so odd to me. Yeah. But I can see that, to your point of what you're saying, it starts to melt into the feelings versus just being an animal primal thing that they're after. Yeah. Yeah,
because there's really three journeys that we embark upon in this life. There is the physical plane we're born into. There's the emotional plane, which is all these feelings and all these, hormones intersect with those feelings. And then there's the spiritual plane, the idea of death and dying, the next plane, the next step forward from life, we all aspire to, but we have little knowledge of. We give ourselves a book, a Bible to kind of reference, but at the end of it, until we get there, we really don't know. It could be something of like heaven. Everybody's described this ultra plane of like clouds, and it's just embracing
perfect weather,
whatever. Or the more clinical kind of more surface is like, hey, we're born and we die. We're just random acts of nature. Yeah. And that's kind of boring and really kind of like disappointing. Because I think, the journey for all of us is to reach significance, to find something or somebody to feel significant about, and how, why live a life if it doesn't have purpose, and I think at the end of it, we all disappointed if we don't find that, and I wish, in my disappointment in people is that they don't give themselves enough time to explore that, which, goes back to love, which goes back to sex. And, there is an importance in that. And, we're biologically driven to have sex. And that is unfortunately coupled with love, but it's not love. Can you find love when somebody makes you food?
Absolutely.
Is
yes.
If they make me tacos, then yes.
Yeah, then it's over, right? And then that kind of goes to those 5 love languages, right? Someone makes you food and you feel loved. There's the words of affirmation. Someone makes a compliment to you.
What are your love languages?
Mine are words of affirmation would be a pretty high one for me. Quality time with the dialect of quality conversation definitely makes me feel loved.
See, I'm physical touch. But I think that's most men.
Actually, I've become a lot more physical touch recently. And yes, I've heard that is most men. Although.
Oh, hello. Let's talk about physical touch just a little bit more. If you insist.
It is a beautiful thing.
No, but, and as you interpret that and understand that, can you do that to a partner? Like, let's say you're more words of affirmation. You're with somebody that's more physical touch. Does love drive you to be more kind of touchy-feely? And then does love on the reverse end push you to express yourself more verbally, because you're...
I think that all depends on the willingness of the person to be in that relationship and show up and give the other person love in the way that they receive love. Yeah. But there's so many times that, if you ever read the 5 love languages, relationships will fall apart because people are showing love in their own way of showing love. So it's not being received on the other end. So it's I think all of it, everything boils down to consciousness and mindfulness in every situation, in every relationship. Learning to be mindful of what the other person needs, learning to be mindful of yourself and your own needs. So that just kind of, yes, it's possible to become more physical touch like I have. Yeah. Absolutely, because I practiced that. It's like learning another language, Yeah. I'm learning to speak Spanish because that's all you speak, right? And so then naturally I'm going to speak more Spanish. So that's
I speak a lot of Spanish.
I do not.
Oh.
So
let's just talk about me.
We'll have to
That was my euphemism for physical touch.
Oh, physical touch. Yeah.
Let's speak Spanish.
Yes, you do speak Spanish.
Although. No, but I mean, I think love will drive you to those areas where if you're truly invested in understanding the feeling, if you're truly invested, because I believe you can fall in love with anybody, and you can fall in love with people that aren't best suited for you and help them through that. I think it has to be reciprocated on both ends. You really have to be, where I'm at in life is I'm open, and I'm open to receive as much as I am to give. And most people are driven by selfishness. They tend to want to take versus give, and this whole world is like, what, I did this, I should receive this, whatever that comes from or however that is manifested. There's so many selfish people out there that until they get over that, until they understand that life is about selflessness and giving, will they tend to see that they will receive more than they actually do end up giving.
Yeah, and the other funny thing is a lot of people that seem like very giving people are also very selfish. They are only giving with the condition of receiving, and that ends up coming out in the end, right? And just like you were saying about relationships and being able to love anyone, it comes back to that conscious effort of action. It's an action, right?
Correct.
It is an action.
So I'm with Mary VanAlstyne.
VanAlstyne.
And we're talking about sex and love. And we're about 25 minutes into the show, so we're going to be wrapping up things. So, we didn't get a lot of people on the live, but this is kind of new, and we're exploring what this is all about. We wanted to bring you more shows and more content. So if you have any ideas or anything that you want to bring up regarding, sex, love, or just anything you've been dying to ask for, we want to come at this more with humility and more of a spiritual sense and reflect upon our experiences. I think that's really at the end of it and how it connects back to our own sense of spirituality, right, Mrs. VanAlstyne?
Yes, that is correct.
What would you like to see out of this show?
I would really like to see an opening for people to freely talk about the things that they are afraid to talk about. Spirituality, mindfulness.
What are you afraid to talk about?
What are these things? I'm really not afraid to talk about anything. Sex versus love. No.
That's right. Yeah. Go ahead. Talk a little bit more. Let's see what you say.
And I've really been putting myself out there and opening myself up to just showing people that side of myself. So I really, that's what my hope is, to bring people to a place where it is not taboo to talk about spirituality and things of that nature.
Yeah, and I think again, going back to the beginning of the show, we were, or at least I was expressing kind of that religious aspect. Growing up Catholic, it's like we don't talk about anything other than Catholic. Otherwise God's going to punish you. I remember that being a huge thing growing up. It's like, well, you better not do that because God's going to punish you.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, okay. And then when you're alone, you're looking around.
Yeah. Let's get us to a place where we don't think God's going to punish us all the time. God is a loving God.
Sure? We're talking. She's not around. But I think we're going to end the show there. So
Awesome.
If you guys are watching us on the replay, go ahead and leave your comments, questions. We'll take it. We'll kind of explore. We'll keep doing this maybe every Tuesday, at least once a week. I don't know. Maybe whatever. We'll figure it out. Miss Mary VanAlstyne, thank you for coming on today's show.
Thank you
We're
so
going to be
much.
wrapping up. So this is Robert Morales for RCR Radio. We're going to be doing some more videos. We're going to be doing more stuff regarding possibly sex and love. Hello? Possibly sex and love. Anyway, that's my radio voice. But we'll be coming back sometime next week. Maybe sooner, maybe later. I don't know. Comments, questions below. Like, love. We'll see you guys next time. Hold up.
Oh,
no.
am I still on?
No, we're just on. So anyway, adios.